Joe Biden, fresh off of his tour de force performance at the State of the Union address, he had his left hook that day, as Morning Joe would say. He sat down with Jonathan Capehart, who asked him if he had any red line that Israel ought not cross, lest they lose the support of the United States for their operations in Gaza. Notice the ceasefire never happened. We were supposed to get a ceasefire on Monday. That's almost a week ago. No such thing happened. They're trying to scramble to get one together for Ramadan. But here's Joe Biden being asked what his red line is for Israel if Rafah is a red line.
What is your red line with Prime Minister Netanyahu? Do you have a red line? For instance, would invasion of Rafah, which you have urged him not to do, would that be a red line?
It is a red line, but I'm never going to leave Israel. The defense of Israel is still critical. So
what? It is a red line, but I'm never going to leave Israel. Listen to that. So that's literally, that translates to yes and no. Yes, It's a red line, but no, it isn't.
Yahoo. Do you have a red line? For instance, would invasion of Rafah, which you have urged him not to do, would that be a red line?
It is a red line, but I'm never going to leave Israel. The defense of Israel is still critical. So there's no red line. I'm going to cut off all weapons so they don't have the Iron Dome to protect them. They don't have, but there's red lines that if he crosses them, he cannot have.
That's just a complete non sequitur. Like that's just from left field, right? No one's talking about the Iron Dome.
Which is defensive.
A defensive shield. We're talking about an offensive. Right. Is there anything they could do? Wow, that's a great screen freeze. Yeah. Is there anything they could do that would cause the United States to stop supplying money and weapons for their offensive assault on Gaza? The Iron Dome has nothing to do with the conversation, obviously.
There's no red line. I'm going to cut off all weapons so they don't have the Iron Dome to protect them. They don't have, but there's red lines that if he crosses them, he cannot have 30,000 more Palestinians dead.
Well, you're going to. If they invade Rafah, you're going to. You probably are going to anyway because of starvation and famine. Estimates are coming out right now. Like, if we end the offensive today and we get all the food in that can possibly be got in today, you're still going to have 5,000 or 6,000 die of starvation. So as long as this goes, you're going to have those numbers start to swallow even the death count. Now, on top of that, disease. You got people living outside in tents. And I saw an article a couple days ago saying as the weather gets warmer, disease is going to become more of a factor, since a lot of diseases like that thrive in warmer weather, right? And so, like, you could be seeing, like, what we're seeing right now could be not the tip of the iceberg, hopefully, but this could be less than half of what the overall death count is, quite easily.
Right. Well, if they go into Rafah,
even taking out of that a ground invasion of Rafah. Just the deaths of disease
just
and famine.
Starvation and disease. Right?
Yeah.
Right. Yeah. This is, especially as those effects start to set in, the horrors of the images and the stories, which even to their credit, CNN has been doing some good work on really showing what's going on the ground there. You're not going to be able to hide this. And our Israel policy even more than it already has, is going to lose any moral legitimacy. Like, you're just not going to be able to get anyone except the most rabid Zionist-aligned people to go along with this anymore.
Yep.
Even Trump, and I've been very skeptical of this. You know, Trump, as you said, he's actually a bad businessman and a good politician. As public sentiment really swings in that direction, even Trump might moderate his stance on it.
I mean, at a certain point, you have to say that's enough. That's enough. That's if you're Joe Biden, right? I mean, any humane person would not have let this thing start. Any humane person would have called for an immediate ceasefire after October 7th, because we don't trust you to do an operation with any regard for civilian life. And so they are our aircraft carrier, as RFK says.
Yes, as
their
RFK,
intelligence
yes.
agencies work hand in hand with ours. If this were about rooting out the people who attacked you, that could have been done with the help of our intelligence agencies, and you could have run counter-terrorism, if you will, operations. There was no reason to authorize this broad-scale use of force when it comes to Israel, because obviously Israel could never be trusted to exercise any sort of concern for innocent human life. I told you on our first broadcast after October 7th, I said, I think they're going to go and clear out Gaza and kill anyone in their way. That's what I said they're going to do. I'm not an expert on this topic. I knew more than the average person, but I'm not an expert, far from it. It didn't take a genius to foresee this, because Netanyahu said himself, the enemy is about to endure an unprecedented assault or something like that.
Amalek.
The Amalek thing came a little bit later, but in the immediate thing, he said, what we do to them is going to be unprecedented. Well, unprecedented could only mean genocide, because they've walked the line right up to genocide for the past 75 years.
Boy,
and so,
that sounds like a promise of collective punishment to me.
Of course it was. Of course it was. And anybody could have seen that, which means there should have been an immediate ceasefire. No, you're not doing anything whatsoever without our direct involvement and supervision, because we do not trust you motherfuckers to protect innocent life. So there should have been a ceasefire minute one. But if you are a bought and paid for American politician, at this point, it should be palatable for you to say that's enough already. You're not going in on the ground in Rafah, period. And if you do, you're cut off permanently for good. But of course, he said on the one hand, that's his red line, and on the other hand, it's not.
But no.
Right.
No.
But no. All right.
It's a red line, but one that we're not going to enforce.
Right. Yeah, exactly.
More Palestinians dead as a consequence of going after
Netanyahu is like a flock of lemur.
He's like a flock of lemur. I tried talking to the guy, but he's like the flock of lemur, you know?
He's
he just
like the
jumps
flock-
back and
he
forth.
jumps side.
He jumps side to side. He doesn't sit still. It's hard to get through to him, you know?
To get to deal with the trauma caused by Hamas. It's like look, the first time I went over, I sat with them and I sat with a work cabinet. I said, look, don't make the mistake America made. America made a mistake. We went after bin Laden until we got him, but we shouldn't have gone into Ukraine. I mean, we shouldn't have gone into the whole thing in Iraq and Afghanistan. Wasn't necessary.
He comes
caused
out
more
swinging.
problems than it raised, than it's cured.
It's really got Ukraine on the brain, Ukraine in the membrane.
I mean, I want Trump to win just to watch Jonathan Capehart cry again on camera.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, that'll be a fun day, won't it? Won't it, America? So there you have it. We can't have another 30,000 die, and Rafah's my red line, but there's nothing they could do that would make us
We're not going to do
abandon them.
anything about it.
Yeah.
Please clap.